Have you ever wondered what's really going on between China and Japan? It feels like every other week there's a new headline, another tense moment, another standoff. The rhetoric is getting hotter, the military drills are getting closer, and the old wounds of history seem to be real. But what if I told you this isn't just a two-player game? What if there's a third, powerful player, quietly pulling the strings from the shadows, fanning the flames for its own gain? Could the United States be the hidden hand escalating this ancient rivalry? The answer is far more complex and shocking than you might think. Stick with me as we unravel the truth behind one of the most dangerous geopolitical flashpoints of our time. To really get to the bottom of this, we need to understand that the relationship between China and Japan is like a tangled web of history, economics, and national pride. For centuries, they've been neighbors, sometimes partners, often rivals. But in recent decades, something new has been added to the mix, a fierce competition for regional dominance in East Asia. China's rapid economic and military rise is challenging the status quo that has existed for over 70 years, a status quo where Japan, under the security umbrella of the United States, has played a key role. Now, where does the United States fit into all of this? Officially, the U.S. is an ally to Japan. The U.S.-Japan Security Treaty is the cornerstone of American policy in the Pacific. This treaty basically says that if Japan is attacked, the United States will come to its defense. This has allowed Japan to maintain a constitution that renounces war and limits its military to self-defense forces. For decades, this arrangement has been seen as a stabilizing force in the region. But here's where it gets complicated. Is the U.S. presence truly just about stability, or is it also about maintaining its own influence and containing a rising China? Think about it from a strategic perspective. The United States has long been the world's sole superpower. A powerful, unified Asia, especially one led by China, could potentially challenge that position. So, what's one of the oldest strategies in the geopolitical playbook? Divide and conquer. By keeping regional powers like China and Japan at odds, the United States ensures that no single Asian power becomes strong enough to push it out of the region. It maintains its role as the indispensable nation, the regional balancer, the power that everyone needs to court. A state of controlled tension, where things are simmering but not boiling over, might just be the perfect scenario for maintaining American dominance. Let's look at some evidence. Take the disputed islands, which Japan calls the Senkaku and China calls the This small chain of uninhabited islands has become a major flashpoint. Whenever tensions flare up over these islands, with ships from both countries facing off, what does the U.S. do? It publicly reaffirms that the islands fall under the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. On the surface, this seems like a straightforward message of support for an ally. But think about the effect this has. It emboldens Japan, making it less likely to seek a compromise with China. At the same time, it provokes China, which sees this as American interference in a regional dispute. The U.S. positions itself as the defender of its ally, while simultaneously ensuring the conflict continues to simmer. It's a masterful move, playing both sides to its own advantage. Then there's the military angle. The United States has been actively encouraging Japan to strengthen its military capabilities and take on a more assertive role in regional security. This is often framed as burden sharing, getting allies to pay more for their own defense. But it also serves another purpose. A remilitarized Japan acts as a powerful counterweight to China's growing military might. The U.S. sells Japan advanced military hardware, like F-35 fighter jets and Aegis missile defense systems. This not only boosts the American defense industry, but also deepens Japan's military dependence on the U.S. and further integrates it into America's strategic orbit. Every new weapon system, every joint military exercise, reinforces the alliance and draws a clearer line in the sand between the U.S.-Japan bloc and China. Economically, the situation is just as complex. China is Japan's largest trading partner. Their economies are deeply intertwined. A full-blown conflict would be devastating for both. So why is the political relationship so bad? Some analysts argue that the U.S. uses political and security levers to disrupt this growing economic integration. By highlighting the China threat, the U.S. encourages Japan and other regional allies to diversify their supply chains away from China, a strategy often called de-risking. This serves the American goal of slowing down China's economic growth and technological advancement. the US has put pressure on its allies, including Japan, to restrict the export of high-tech components like semiconductors to China. So, while Japanese businesses want to trade with China, their government is being pushed by Washington to adopt a more confrontational economic stance. And Japan have no agency of their own. Far from Italiano. Nationalistic sentiments are very real in both countries. Politicians on both sides often use strong rhetoric against the other to rally domestic support. Historical issues are genuinely sensitive and unresolved. It's not as simple as the US being a puppet master controlling everything. China's increasingly assertive actions in the South China Sea and its aggressive wolf warrior diplomacy have certainly made its neighbors, including Japan. But in Novo's Japan, for its part, is grappling with its own national identity and its place in a changing world. So, the tensions are real and have deep local roots. However, the key argument is that the United States consistently and strategically acts in ways that exacerbate these existing tensions, rather than helping to resolve them. Instead of promoting dialogue and reconciliation, U.S. policy often seems designed to reinforce divisions and lock in a state of perpetual rivalry. It's like having two neighbors who already dislike each other, and the third neighbor keeps whispering in each one's ear, reminding them of all the bad things the other has done and selling them bigger fences and stronger locks. The third neighbor isn't starting the fight, but they're making darn sure it never ends. Consider the narrative. The U.S. media and political establishment consistently frame the situation as a struggle between a democratic, peaceful Japan and an authoritarian, aggressive China. This simplifies a very complex reality and creates a clear good guy versus bad guy story that is easy for the public to digest. This narrative justifies increased U.S. military presence in the region, larger defense budgets, and a more confrontational policy towards China. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. By treating China as an enemy, the U.S. encourages China to act like one, which in turn justifies the initial confrontational stance. So, is the U.S. the mastermind behind the escalating China-Japan conflict? The conflict between China and Japan isn't a simple bilateral issue. Understanding this third dimension is crucial to seeing the full picture. Thank you so much for watching.